Hey, this is my shrinker stretcher, and I'm a professional. You mind, Louie? Hey guys, John here, Midnight Paint and Body Channel. This week's video, we're getting back to work on the 1952 Chevrolet sedan delivery project. I haven't worked on this one in a couple of months. It is time to get back to it. So, if you haven't seen the past videos, 1952 Chevy sedan delivery, I've done a ton of metal work on it, a ton of body work up to this point. Last video, I set it down on the custom chassis for the first time. I didn't build the frame. A fellow named Rick built the frame. He is an amazing fabricator. So this is all 4-link and independent front suspension and airbags and all that good stuff. So yeah, basically all I did last one was set it on the frame. I cut a bunch of the floor out to fit the tires and a little bit of clearance for the drive shaft. So this video, what I would like to do, or this round anyway, I'm just starting to get actually the body bolted to the frame. So I want to get it kind of bolted where it's going to live. I've just started making up some temporary little bushing pieces for between the body and frame, just out of some old rubber mat I have here. That's just going to get us to where we want the body to live. Once that body is bolted securely to the frame and square, then I can start fitting front sheet metal and we can body work fenders and stuff. I can cut the doors open because they have been welded shut since the start, after I did all the metal work, put it on the rotisserie. Before putting it on the rotisserie, I welded the doors shut so it wouldn't lose any shape. So once it's bolted down, we can open those up. And also, I want to move on to finishing up, or not finishing up, starting our wheel tubs. So, obviously we got some big old sticky Mickeys in there. So my intention is to try and use these pieces that I'd cut out. So we'll probably trim off this part of the original wheelhouse to where it's going to fit around about here, and then we'll just fill it in with some sheet metal. So I think that's going to be the easiest way to do it, and it's going to kind of maintain this factory piece, so that's going to look really good, I think. I also had to cut out a little bit of the floor there, so we'll probably cut a bunch more of the floor out and we'll build some kind of a tunnel there when we get to that. But first things first, I'm going to get the body bolted down, but I'll bring you guys back when we're ready to do something more fun. Alright, so I have got the body bolted to the frame. Cut the doors open for the first time in a long time. So, going to be a lot of finishing and stuff to do in there. I've left my little tabs on there. I can just weld those back up when this goes back on the rotisserie, if that's... I shouldn't have to because everything's welded solid now. At the time when I put it on the rotisserie, the welding wasn't all finished, so I welded the doors shut just to hold the body square. But what we're going to move on to now, kind of getting a feel for where my wheel tubs need to be. So I'm getting kind of a measurement, so where I want to cut those original tubs to use as much as I can in here. So I think I'll just start with that. I would probably rebuild this whole floor in here. I'll make a whole new piece, I believe, in there. And if you're new to the channel, guys, if this is your first time seeing my videos or this project, I'm an average body man. I don't have a lot of fancy tools. I'm not a car builder. I'm an auto body guy. But I do enjoy doing some of this kind of stuff. I mean, I am learning a bit as I go too. So the fabrication part isn't my strong suit, but this is all pretty basic stuff. So I'm going to mark out the old wheelhouses and see if I can cut them to about 10 inches to kind of fit that area, and we'll just start with that. Well, it's the next day here, guys. Getting kind of a late start. Day kind of turned into a bit of a write-off, just having to do other things, but sometimes that happens. So yesterday, I went a little farther. Actually, I cut this section of the old floor out. Now, it was just kind of ugly. It was still solid, but I thought this would be a better way to go. So I'm going to start by taking some measurements and making a pan for here. And then we can work on kind of our wheel tubs. Back here, we still don't know exactly what we're doing. I need to figure out a fuel tank of some sort that's going to work. I mean, we can build a structure in here to hold a fuel tank. I was kind of hoping the Mustang style tank would work. So I was looking at this tank. These kind of fit, they fit nice and flush, and they sit down and have a flange all the way around, but they're just too big. I did some measurements off of that, but that Mustang tank would, I mean, honestly, it would probably be into the tires. Like, there's just too much to it. So we'll probably need something a little smaller, a little deeper, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So I do want to start with making a floor piece for here. I think I'll just make a flat sheet, maybe with a break on each end. No. Yeah, we'll do something like that, as long as my break is big enough. And then when we get into here, you see I've had to clearance for the frame rails. This is where the drive shaft loop will be. And so, yeah, I've had to clearance a lot in there, but I think we'll cut that section out as well. I am just not, I guess just not an experienced enough fabricator to try and make that all in one piece. So we're going to do it a bit at a time, and I'm sure we can make it look good and be nice and strong and functional. So first off, I'm going to take some measurements, and let's get this piece of steel cut for the floor. So here's kind of the idea so far with the floor. So we've got a floor pan piece just kind of sitting in there. Our wheelhouse pieces are going to weld right around there. And then a flat sheet to fill that in. So I'm going to clamp this piece in place right where it needs to be, and then I'll get underneath and trace out where the braces are. That way we know where we need to drill, plug weld back to the original braces. Once we have that, we'll start kind of fitting up other pieces, see where we end up. So I climbed underneath and just marked with a pencil where I want to drill for the plug welds. That way we know they're going to land right on the braces. So I'm just kind of tracing out with a piece of tape and just kind of roughly spacing out the holes so they're all kind of even. We'll drill those, and then maybe we'll try putting a couple bead rolls in this panel. So I've just marked a couple of spots, put a couple of beads in this. Let's take it over the old bead roller, see what we can do. Looks like the shop lion has come in for a visit. What do you do? Oh, ow, 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 ow. Climbs on me like a tree. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break because my cat says so. And when I come back, we're gonna try the bead roller, try rolling a couple of beads in this thing. Let's see if I can put some beads in this thing for strength on my own. It's kind of a, almost need an extra set of hands for this machine. Oh, come on now. Go. About there? Sure. Oh yeah, that'll work out pretty good. So you can see what we're doing is just putting some strength into this. I'm going to run a few more down there, and then we'll move up to here, maybe try a little different design there. So you can see all we've done there is just added strength to this panel. Not that it really needs it, there's not big spans in between the braces, but that makes it look good too, even though it'll probably be all upholstered at some point. And I think I might do some angle ones here. We'll try that. So here's our first piece of our floor. Just a couple self-tappers holding it in. Kind of looking, thinking. Because there's so little left in here. I've had to cut out a bunch of this. And it still needs a little more trimming yet. I'm thinking I'm just going to cut this whole section out. And I'm just going to build this floor right onto this seat mount. See no reason why that wouldn't work. And it'll make this floor just nice and flat all the way in. We finished our wheel tubs, box in that end, and we just have a flat floor. So I think that's what we're going to do. It's going to take a little more thinking and measuring, and I'm going to just take my time, because this is not my strong suit, the fabricating part, but I want this to be really nice. So I'm going to take my time and make sure it's right. But unfortunately, that my day was only about 3 hours long today. I've got to run out again. I've got things to take care of. But I'll be back to a regular work day tomorrow. I don't do that very often, not work a full day, but sometimes things just have to be done. So, good enough for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. So it's the next day here, and I've been playing around a little bit with some CAD design. You know, the old cardboard aided design. You know that program. So really I'm just kind of getting a feel for where everything's going to be. This is by no means templates. It's just kind of a visual for me. But I think what I'm going to move on to next, now that I kind of know where things are going to be, I did have to order a couple sheets of 18 gauge. So those will be here either late today or first thing in the morning, so that's fine. I have enough to continue on with some other stuff, but I think I'm going to rebuild these side pieces. they're not that bad, but like this one, you know, it's got the hole where, so this is where the fuel filler used to go. We're not using any of that. So I think I would just like to make some nice clean new pieces for in there. And then I can actually extend them closer to the quarter panels to where then they can be seam sealed in. It's kind of what I'm thinking. So I'm gonna fool around with that. I'll probably make some more cardboard templates for there just to give me a better idea exactly what I want to do. But I just figured I'd give you guys a little check-in. You know, I'm super happy with this panel we made. You know, just those few little bead rolls just make it look good and give it that strength that it needs. So yeah, that's where we're at. It's not a lot of progress, but it's a lot of progress in my mind. I can get a picture of how things need to be now and what I'm going to do. So it'll make it a lot easier to move forward now. So I'll bring you guys back when I start making these side panels. So I've been working on cutting out the floor pan. Hopefully you guys can see that. I know it's dark in here. This side. So again, I just made a cardboard template. So that's gonna work nice there. I still need to trim a little bit on this end, but that's okay because I can do that after. Cramped workspace here. But now you see, so I don't want this tight against the body in here. So you can see I've left a gap. We want that to be able to kind of float, but I will run a nice bead of seam sealer on it when all is done. And that kind of joins everything together, but not rigidly. So, you know, this seam, because of the way those panels are that I put on the outside, they overlapped. They came with a flange. But I think I'm going to do kind of a flange along the side of this piece. We have an attachment for the bead roller for that. So that'll give it some strength around the edge. And then the same thing as I did on this one, I'll get underneath, trace out the braces, and then I will know where to drill holes to where we can plug weld back to our brace that's there, a brace that's there, and where else? Yeah, I guess just along the back. And then we'll do some bead rolls in this, kind of like we did on this one, to give it some strength. So the other thing I'm thinking, so when I did all the metal work on the outside of this body, we didn't have the chassis, and I didn't know exactly what we were working with. So like these flaps inside, I made those because to look just like how it was from the factory. Now, I think I'm going to cut those off. Maybe. Yeah. I think probably the best thing in there is going to be to finish up my floor in here. And then once this body is back off and on the rotisserie, I can make some new pieces in there. And same thing, say we want that to the body but not tight because we want to fill it up with some sealer, and that gives it that little strength up against that panel, just with some good seam sealer, not actually attached. So unfortunately I did all that work making those, but I think I'm going to be better off to cut them out, build the floors, build new pieces, and then when we make new pieces I can actually extend them as far over as we can come to kind of give some protection from those big tires throwing, you know, road debris up into the body. Not that this car is going to see any bad roads, but there's always crap on the roads. So anyway, that's where I'm at. So I think I'm going to go set up the bead roller and let's see if we can do that I'll either use my pneumatic flanging tool or the bead roller. I think we'll try the bead roller for that, so we'll see you guys over there. Okay, let's give this a go. So, hopefully this isn't too boring, guys. I'm learning as I go with this too, so I have very limited experience with the bead roller. But what I'm hoping to do is just put a flange all the way around that edge. And what I want I think that's going to give the reverse of what I want right there. So if I go this way, yeah, we're going to start this way. My bead roller is obviously a budget one, like most of my stuff. Let's see if this is tight enough. Oh yeah, that's doing what I want. Now all of this interior is all going to be upholstered eventually. So you're not really going to see all this stuff, but it puts strength in the panel. So if my lines are not perfect, it's not the end of the world. But I still want them to look good. You can see we're having a machine with a foot pedal power, or I could be having both hands on this piece of sheet metal. Would obviously be better, but this was the machine I could afford, and I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest. Might not be the best, but it definitely does what I need. Nice. So that's exactly what I wanted, was that edge sat down a little bit. So I'll run a bead of sealer in there once it's on. That's putting a ton of strength into that panel. And once I've got the holes drilled, know exactly where it's going to live, we'll put a few more beads in it to strengthen it up. So that worked really good. So this is not a sponsored tool, but this was quite honestly the least expensive one I could find. And it's from Vivor. It's got a decently deep throat on it, so you can get a pretty big piece of sheet metal in there. But yeah, this thing's really good, guys. So if you need an inexpensive machine, I would recommend that one for sure. It's been really good for what I've used it for. So there's our first side piece sitting in place. I am super happy with that. I like the fit. It's all good. So I'm not sure, but I think the other side should be exactly the same. I'll measure it. So I should be able to actually flip this one over and trace it out as a template to make the piece for that side. Which probably won't be till tomorrow, because I don't think I have any big pieces left. That piece, maybe. Maybe. I have some big chunks, so we'll see what I can do. But I won't obviously record making that side because we just made this side. I'll wait until we get on to making the wheel tubs and the other pieces. But yeah, so I'll bring you guys back when it gets a little different, a little more interesting. So I've gone ahead and cut the piece out of the other side of the floor that we need to make, but I can't make that today because I don't have enough steel, but I'll have steel in the morning. So I think it's beautiful outside right now. I'm going to push this outside and just dust all of this stuff with the sandblaster. And we can put some primer on the inside of all of this. Yeah, it just cleans it up nice. It's not totally necessary. I can wire wheel it and just spray something on it, but I may as well dust it all off while we can. Before I head out there, I've had a lot of guys ask about my blasting equipment. Now this old pressure pot, so this Empire Abrasive Equipment, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, part number P105. This thing is super old. Now, the collision shop I went to work at in 1991, this was the old compressor there, or compressor, the old sandblaster, sorry. And when we got a new one, probably mid-90s, the owner, he was a really cool guy, he always knew I was always doing stuff on the side or whatever, so he asked me if I wanted that one, so he gave it to me, and I've been using it ever since. So it's ancient, but I don't think technology has changed. So, oh, and there's Louie. The media I use. So the stuff I use. This is crushed glass. This is actually made right here locally in the town where I live. Right there. So yeah, this is the 3060. That's the one I like. It's kind of medium, I guess. It's not real coarse, but that's just the one I've kind of, after using a few, that's the one I've always kind of been drawn to. And my compressor, now sandblasting takes big air. You can't, I mean, you can get by with a smaller machine. For years I had like a little 6-horse Ingersoll Rand compressor, an 80-gallon tank, and I would sandblast with it. I would paint cars with it, but you would have to run your tank dry, you know, it would just be, you know, probably half a bag of sand, and then stop and just let the compressor build up and do some more. If you want to blast continuously, you need a big machine like this. Now this is, I don't even know how many horsepower that compressor is, but this puts out about 25 CFM. Put it into perspective, you need about 12 CFM to run most air tools. So this will put out 25. I think it's factory set about 150 PSI. What does the gauge say? Oh, I don't know. I guess it's not PSI, so I'm like 1700 or something. I don't know what that means. All I know is it works. That actually came out of a collision shop a few towns away. It came up for sale, and I bought it. It was one of those deals on Marketplace where it was a good price, and I just, the second I saw it, I just messaged the guy and said, I will take it. I'll send you a deposit. I'm on my way. And it worked out, so. Anyway, yeah, that's what I use for blasting. I'm just going to roll this out. You mind, Louie? I'm going to roll this out. Dust this stuff off, the inside of the braces. It'll clean it up nice. And then tomorrow we'll get some more steel and we can continue on making panels. What are you doing, Louie? He wants to jump on me, I know it. Yep. Okay, I gotta push this outside and do some sandblasting. What's up, everybody? So, back at her here in my office, stepping on stuff. So, turns out, oh, ours moving. My steel I was waiting on for this morning, it's in at the depot, just at the wrong town. So, little miscommunication, it happens. I'll have it tomorrow, but there is stuff I can continue on with here. So I have made a template. Let's try that. So this section of floor here, I ended up cutting this piece out because there was just very little left of kind of the structure of the floor. So I will be trimming some more of this out because we need room for the drive shaft. So I came up with this piece. So it's going to fit just underneath. Join up with our other floor. Now we can run that little bead along the edge so they're going to click together nicely. I'll take you back down. So we're going to kind of box in the side here. And then when we get back to... Sorry, this is probably tremendously bad camera work right now. Obviously super rough, but so this will be kind of boxed in as you see there. This piece will be there, this piece will be there, and then we'll have, I'm still hoping to use the pieces of the original wheelhouses, but if not, then it'll be pretty easy to make a piece. I mean, yeah, nothing's fit up here, but you get the idea of what we're going for there. So, you know, if we can make all this, you know, run some nice beads in it, this is going to look really nice. It's going to be super strong. I know Tom was talking about putting the battery in the vehicle because we're going to be limited for space under the hood. So I was hoping this might be enough room for a battery box here, and this part of this floor could even be cut out and sunk down if we have to, and this can be trimmed back as well. So that might work, so that might be an option. Like you said, all he's putting in this is, I mean, it'll be all upholstered, but he just needs 2 front seats. He's not putting a back seat in it. So let's go transfer this guy to a piece of steel, because I do have a piece big enough for that. I'll see you over there. So something I was going to mention to you guys too. So this is cold rolled steel. So it's nice and clean, shiny. I've got some other sheet metal sitting in with my compressor here. I mean, I could use this stuff in a bind. But now this is hot rolled steel, so this is the same thing. It's 18 gauge. but it's got like that mill scale on it, so this stuff basically needs to be sandblasted if you're using it for what we're doing here. You can't really grind this. It's not really a coating, it's just how the steel comes out. You can't really grind it off. I mean, you could, but it would take forever. If you prime over this, your primer is sitting on top of that mill scale, but not sealing up the steel, so it doesn't last. It will rust. In my experience, if you use that kind of steel for this kind of application, but if you make all your pieces and then sandblast them really good and then prime it, it seems fine. But so that's just the difference between cold rolled and hot rolled, if you ever run into that. So I'm certainly no expert, but just thought I would mention that in case it helps somebody out. So we're going to trace this template out, and then we'll stick it in the sheet metal brake, bend those edges over. I'm going to make these a little bigger, so I'm going out to the edge of that tape so that we can bend that edge in and then bend that edge out so it'll sit flush on the floor, kind of like that, and then we can drill and plug weld to the floor. But I'll show you that when we get to it. Alright, so you may have noticed I decided to try being a little creative with the bead roller. Now let's see if our panel actually fits. Like it. So rather than just some strips in there for strength, I just thought I'd play around with a Chevy bow tie in it. Now keep in mind, this will all be, well, my measurements were off. This will all be covered by upholstery, guys. That was just having some fun. I thought that might be kind of cool. You never know, maybe someday someone will look from underneath and see a Chevy bow tie in the floor or something. So I put a step where we're going to join onto the other panel. This needs to be trimmed off quite a bit, so this will just be about 3/4 of an inch there, where we can drill and plug weld to the other panel once we get there. So that actually fits good. So I put steps on the sides so we can drill, plug weld solid to the floor. Here it'll be the same thing. We'll drill into this brace and get that clamped tight and weld it there. And then unfortunately I can't make my tub pieces today because I decided I didn't get my freight today, but that's okay, we can make those tomorrow. But I think I can maybe start messing around with those pieces of the original wheelhouses that I was going to try and use, so maybe we will look at those next. Well, it is Friday morning, back on the 52. It's late Friday morning. But you have a confession to make. I have pretty much started late every day this week. I usually put in a lot of hours, but this has been one of those weeks that I haven't. I don't think I've worked a full day all week. But that's okay, because I don't do it very often. So, as you can see, I got my freight this morning, so I got a couple sheets of sheet metal. So I have kind of traced out my template. See, my line's kind of goofy, but I'll straighten it out with the zip cut. This needs to do a bit of a dip like that to fit our wheel tub, which is what we're making now. So that's the piece that's going to go over the wheel. Yesterday I trimmed out these pieces a little more. Took them out and sandblasted them. They need a little more hammer and dollying, but not going to get too carried away. I doubt I'll even bodywork them because, like I've been saying, this will most likely be all upholstered. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Tom wants this all nice inside. So, that guy's going to be round about there, probably in a little more, but now we're just making that piece to fill that in. I don't know that this was the right way to go. I mean, I could have made pieces, and we still can. We'll see how this works out. I had just kind of had it in my head it would be kind of cool to have this original piece in there. So, let's see how that works. I'm going to cut this piece out and we'll kind of get it in place and give us a little more idea where everything is going to live. Well, I have moved ahead quite a bit here. I didn't film because this took a lot of tinkering in and out, trim, back in, trim some more, back in, to get that piece just right, because it had to kind of suck in at this end to bring this end down on more of an angle, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's what I was doing. But I've got it kind of mocked up. So I had to redo my flange here, which kind of looks ugly right now, but once it's out, I will trim that straight and dolly that flat. Now my intention in here will be to zip cut and weld so that we're just edge to edge, so we have a nice finished piece. It looks a little funky here, but as I zip cut that, that's going to be fine. It's just because this piece is a little bigger than it needs to be, so I'm going to cut it back a fair bit. We'll do the same in here, probably zip and weld. And then to join to the floor in here, so I've just quickly bent a piece of sheet metal. So this will be probably just drill and plug weld to the floor and to that inner fender. But we'll stick it in the shrinker stretcher and see if we can create that curve just right. One thing, so my floor pan I made, I kind of cut it out like the original, but it's left me a little gap there, so we'll probably actually cover it up with that, but if not, I might have to weld a piece in there. I don't really want to remake the floor pan just for that. But what I think I'm going to do now, before I start welding this, I'm going to take this all apart because I can actually use this inner fender piece as a template for this side, because it should be exactly the same side to side. Just flip it over. So I'm going to pull that apart, make another piece, and then I'll bring you guys back. We're going to start kind of tacking. I think we'll start tacking this piece together, but everything will be coming back out because I need to clean up all the rails, put some weld through primer and whatnot on everything before anything gets welded solid. So Don't know that we'll actually get to much welding today, but I'm pretty sure next week we should be able to just get at this thing and weld everything, because I should have all the pieces made. So I got a bunch of this wheel tub welded up, so I kind of showed you a little bit how I was doing it, just zip cut and weld, zip cut and weld. So that way you end up just with metal edge to edge. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. What I think I'm going to do next, I haven't fully welded it, still going to do the front, but I kind of wanted to see if this is going to work out. So this piece that I made here, we're going to use the shrinker stretcher and see if we can create this curve. I don't know if I can get it that sharp. I just figure we'll give it a try. So essentially what we're going to be doing is stretching the metal here. So it's going to cause it to curve. And we'll see if we can make that corner. So we'll just give it a try. If it doesn't work, might have to do plan B, might just have to pie cut it and make a piece that fits. But like I said in the beginning, this will all be upholstered. I mean, at the end of the day, really, you're not going to see any of this. It is kind of nice, I think, you know, doing these little extra bits in the steel, and when you look at the car from underneath, if it's on a hoist, working on it, then it looks nice and neat and tidy. But let's try this. Oh, if I can get out of here. So, shrinker stretcher, it's got two different sets of teeth. So the metal's going to slide in between there. You see when you push it down, the teeth grab it, and it's pushing the metal apart. So I've got another set that pushes the metal together, so you can shrink the metal, but we're going to try this. This is another tool, guys, where honestly I don't have a tremendous amount of experience with it, but it works well for what I need it for. So let me just get set up, we'll give her a try. Alright, so just kind of work our way back and forth. Did I do something wrong here? I don't think so. It's like these teeth are not releasing properly. See, we're starting to get a slight bit of a curve. Give me a minute. I think I just need to readjust. This is kind of too tight in there. So, dumbass moment. I just realized as I broke one of the teeth in this top piece that I had this top one in upside down. No wonder it wasn't working. So, that was dumb. I just don't use this machine enough. Hopefully I can get replacements for it without having to replace the entire thing. Shit. There it is. man. So yeah, those teeth that push apart are obviously supposed to be at the bottom, not the top. And that's hot. Now, let's see if I can do something with it. So I just welded up that cast tooth I just broke. It's another one of those things where I should edit that out and, you know, hey, this is my shrinker stretcher and I'm a professional. I didn't just break it. So I think it'll be okay. See that immediately, it works way better. Wow, this thing works really good. Now, that's what you run into when you try and go too tight. So I did just crack the metal. Actually, I can just check my fit. Right there. Oh, that is actually getting pretty close already. It is difficult to get it in between the teeth, though. Come on. So now there's something that I tend to do with this thing more often than not. I went too far, but that is okay because this piece is long enough that I'm going to cut that off and start over now that the machine is working proper. And yeah, I'll still have plenty left. I'll need about that much to go around just to there. So I think I'll cut that off. Worst case, we need to make a new piece altogether. It's just a small piece of sheet metal. So it's not the end of the world, but I'm going to try that fresh and I'll show you how I make out. So let's pretend that first piece never even happened. And that I'm a professional, and that I just made this piece with no trouble. There is how we're going to fasten the bottom of this wheelhouse to the floor. So with that, I will just drill some holes, plug weld this right to the floor. There's that little bit of that floor that I need to weld up, but I can just make a little piece welded in there, not a big deal. And then, yeah, so drill, plug, and then the same thing here. We'll just drill and plug weld it right to that inner. I just need to make another curve up there, but that one is much easier. And yeah, so you can see the shape of the metal. I will probably need to, weld and kind of tap it into place to make it fit a little more uniform once I actually get to that, but you get the idea. That's what we're going for. And that is going to work. So back on the 52. Yeah, I don't really remember where we left off. It's been a few days. I'm just going to use the plenishing hammer to try and work some of these hammer marks and dings out of these inner fenders, or this one anyway. So I made the panel for that side this morning. Got that one out because I used it as a template. Now I'm going to move on to our wheel tub on this side. I have cut out a piece for it. Again, I made a template with this one before I welded it to that Wheelhouse piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of do the same on this side as I've done on this side. I won't record that because you saw this side. And then, yeah, once I kind of get that dialed in, we should be to where I can take everything back out of here. We'll grind all these rails and everything nice and smooth, get some weld through primer on them, and we can start making all of this permanent. Well, it's the end of the day here, guys. I thought I'd do a little check-in because like the only time I turned the camera on was using the plenishing hammer a little bit today. So I have made the rest of our pieces for the most part. So now in the morning, it's the end of the day now, I'm going to grind off any just loose metal, anything that's on top of these rails, get them nice and smooth. And then we'll spray some weld through primer on them so there's something in between all of our panels. So now where these are going to sit over top of those rails, I'll put some weld through primer on those areas. You know, once this car goes back on the rotisserie, I'm sure I'll be sandblasting the underside again, cleaning everything up super good before it gets primed and painted. So, you know, all we're worried about right now is just where the metal's going to be sandwiched. So, yeah, I think we're almost ready to weld this thing together. So, you know, the panels they've all turned out pretty good. Now, as you know, as I've told you, I'm not, you know, I've done this stuff. Of course, I've been working with metal my whole life. But this kind of just full-on fabricating panels, I haven't done a whole lot. So I've definitely done it, I just don't have the same experience in this as I do other aspects of this trade. So here's all our other 4-pan pieces. Here's that little box piece we made that kind of goes up towards the front. Again, you know, once all this stuff is welded together, you know, I've kind of tried to inset where another panel is going to sit. You know, I've put this one out where it's going to sit over top of another panel. This will be drilled and plug welded. And once everything's primered, it'll probably all get a coat of seam sealer to really seal everything up. And at the end of the day, it's all going to be upholstered. So, of course, I want it to look nice, but it's not absolutely critical that it's, you know, perfect, precise lines, because it's never going to be seen again. So yeah, that is where we are at. So it's actually late. The day is long over. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Well, good morning. So we're back on the 52, obviously. This morning I have cleaned up all of our rails, just ground them smooth, knocked off any loose metal sitting on them. And now anywhere that we're going to be sandwiching metal together, I'm going to be hit with some weld through primer. Now this stuff is, you know, it's not some magic potion, it's just a little something in between the layers so that you're not, you know, welding bare metal to bare metal and then the moisture's going to get in between and make it rust. I mean, obviously, as we weld this, it burns some of it off. It's not foolproof, but it's better than nothing at all. Go around and hit everything. And I did sandblast all of these rails as well, but I had sprayed them previously, like all like inside and everything, just with some aerosol primer as well. So it should all be good for the next 70 years. The thing I always say about these kind of cars too, you know, they lasted this long the first time, and now for the rest of this car's life, it's not gonna see bad weather. I mean, it might see a little rain, but it's definitely not gonna see winter roads and daily use like they did when they were made. So now the same thing on our floor pan, where that's going to be laying on top of those rails. We want to coat that, and then, like I said, you know, once this car goes back on the rotisserie, I'll be able to spin it back up on its side again, and I will most likely be re-sandblasting the entire floor, because it's all bare metal under there still. And so all of this will probably be getting dusted with the sandblaster, and then of course everything will be getting epoxied and seam sealed and painted. I know a lot of people ask about this stuff actually. The one I always buy is just this Dominion Sure-Seal copper weld through. There's other ones. There's zinc weld through as well. I find the copper welds nicer, but I don't think it really matters. It's just a preference, I guess. I don't know enough about the chemicals to tell you which is better, but yeah, so we are ready to lay our first piece of floor pan in there, and I think we should be able to put a few welds on it. Well guys, I have jumped way ahead on you. I have got this thing all welded up and done as far as I can go for now. I've run out of time to work on this. I've got to get the shop cleaned up for another job coming in next week. But, so as you can see, I mean, I showed you making all the pieces. I ended up rebuilding this piece a little bit. Yeah, you can kind of see what I did there. So I went ahead, now just for reference, so I put some primer over this weld. So, let's see where I've welded this side on, it's the same as that. But this side, I gave it a coat of primer, ran a bead of masking tape, and gave it a coat of like a self-leveling brush-on seam sealer. And I just did that just to give you guys an idea. Now, after this is all primed inside, which I can't do yet because there's a good chance I'm going to be doing some more welding underneath. If I was to prime all this, I might be burning stuff off. I know I need to make a couple of pieces behind the tires for sure. But once this is all primed, you know, I will do the same thing over all of these seams. So this will all be coated basically in seam sealer. I'll probably get a mask it out, you know, just out like that, just like I did there. And then from there we can paint in here, probably just some semi-gloss black, because it will all be upholstered at the end of the day. So it turned out good. I'm happy with it. It's definitely not my strong point, guys, the fabrication. I get a little better every time I do it. Now, are there guys that could have made this way nicer? Of course there is. I mean, you know, I am an average body man guy. That's, you know, that's the best of my abilities. But you have to keep in mind too that, you know, the way I look at it, you know, there's backyard or bodyman guys, there's high-end, you know, $200 an hour hot rod shops, and there's guys like me. I think I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. So, you know, this is super solid and good, and, you know, it's going to look nice from underneath once it's all painted. And, you know, the cars you see getting built on TV where they do all that perfect metal work, I mean, you gotta keep in mind, those are $1 million cars for customers with no budget. So a lot of the time, that's not reality. This is a little more real world hot rod stuff. A little more relatable to most of you guys, I hope. You know, like I always say, I don't do this to say, hey, look at me, I'm a great hot rod builder, because I'm not that guy. I'm just, you know, pride myself in doing a good job. I know it is not perfect, but I'm happy with it. It's really solid. You know, we've built our tubs. We've clearanced everything for those big tires. The reason I built this big box here was because it needed to be all clearanced for the drive shaft anyway. We were okay down here, but it all had to be changed. So rather than fooling around, I just closed it completely in. And then the way this floor goes, actually, see this brace here, there's another one that goes right here, all the way across, that I cut out for patching up the floor and stuff. So I'll have to ask Tom if that's going back in, because if it does, then, you know, this would have a nice flat floor all the way to here, where, I don't know, I mean, if that's what he wants, I think that would be a kind of a good way to have it. And then, you know, we can mount the battery back here. He was talking about potentially an electric AC heater unit that could probably be mounted back here underneath somewhere. So, nice thing about this rig, lots of room. Well, seems like there's lots of room until you're climbing around in there for 2 weeks, cutting and welding and grinding, but I guess it beats laying in a trunk. So let me know, guys, what you think. I didn't record the last bit of all the welding and final fitting because it was just, honestly, I just had to get it done, and I'm afraid if I get too carried away with some of that stuff, the videos become unwatchable. So, but if you've made it this far, thank you. And I hope to see you on the next one, guys. We'll see you then.